How can you make sure that you know how to speak up in meetings and that your work is actually seen as and recognized as important, as relevant as it is really? So how can we make sure that this happens? So very often I see people talking to me that they say things like, oh, but I am working so hard, but when it comes to present my work in meetings or express what is it that I did as a part of a team contribution, I sort of tend to minimize it, or I really struggle with explaining it and people don't get it, so I don't get recognized for it because it makes sense, right? If they don't get it, they don't see it, and so on. So how can we solve this specific problem? What I've seen time and time again when it comes to STEM professionals, they keep doing the work, but no one is actually aware of what their work consists of. And I'm not talking about peers or maybe someone who is working closely to you. Nowadays, projects are very interdisciplinary. There are many people working on them, and it makes sense that maybe a person who is not a scientist, not a developer, data scientist, or something STEM-like, right? Those people don't actually understand what is your role in that project. So when it comes to this global presentation of this final product, for example, sort of STEM professionals tend to take that step back, and even if they don't, when they are forced to actually explain the pipeline, the protocol, the algorithm they developed, they tend to give a very technical explanation, right? They don't really tend to explain it in a way other people say, okay, I get it. I understand why this is important. And this is exactly what makes them overlooked, right, in meetings. Because, for example, people from marketing or people who are from finances, they do very, very tangible things, right? Some people are selling, or they are taking care of the profit and so on. So those things are very, very tangible for the vast majority of the public. However, our work is oftentimes very, very abstract, especially if someone doesn't come from our STEM field specifically. Like when you say things like, we developed an algorithm, how many people who are not from the STEM background really understand what that means? If you asked a room full of people, I bet that 80% of them would not even know what you're talking about. Those are these buzzwords that somehow, you heard of the algorithms and optimizations and protocols and so on, but you don't actually understand what does it mean and why it is important for them. Like, why should they even care about that? So now it comes the skill that you have to learn. As STEM professionals, we are really trained to do the technical part, to do the work, to test hypotheses, to improve, to optimize, to make sure that everything runs smoothly. But we are not trained how to communicate the impact of our work to people who don't know anything about that. And this is a skill that is not only worth honing, it's a skill that is really essential, especially if you're working in multidisciplinary environments. It's something that is like breathing air, really, because your progress depends directly on how visible and how clear your impact and the impact of your work is to those people who are stakeholders, for example, or your boss or your colleagues. Because if they don't get what you actually do, it is very, very unlikely that they will see it as essential, as important, as really pivotal for the structure of the entire project. However, when you learn that skill, this is the good news. It's a skill that can be learned, and it is much, much easier than what you think, probably, right? Because there are ways, there are methods that can really make sure that you know how to express yourself and how to make sure that other people see the importance and the significance of your work. And why would you want to do so? First of all, because it brings recognition. When people understand what your project is about, what your part of the project is about, they instantly see you as the expert that you are. Because it is very hard to perceive someone as an expert if you don't really understand what is it they are doing. So, when we solve this problem, you are instantly going to be seen as an expert. And not only that, promotions, career progress, all of that comes together with that recognition. And most importantly, it really makes time for you, because you don't have to be in that typical situation, 2 a.m. staring at a blank slide, and the deadline for the presentation is tomorrow, and you just pray for it to be over and then start again in the next 6 months when you have another briefing with the board and so on. So this is something that we don't want. We don't want that stress in our lives. We want to be able to really stand behind our work and say, look, I did this, and this is why this is important, and you should care about this because it impacts you in this and this way. When you're able to really say that in the exact moment the meeting is happening, the conference is happening, the presentation is happening, it really brings you freedom and recognition. And I believe if you do a job that you like, which I guess as STEM professionals you do, this is sometimes the missing piece in having this career that you really dreamed of. So if you're interested in something like that, if you want to train that skill in really real life environments with your specific challenges, with your specific problems, I invite you to join my coaching program in which we do exactly that. So we train with your challenges, with your struggles, and we sort of develop this skill in a very natural and tailor-made way, I would say, because not all of us function in the same way. Not all of us are extroverts. Not all of us store and perceive information in the same way. So it is important for that process to be personalized and tailor-made, especially for you. So if you are interested in something like that, I will leave a link down below where you can schedule a completely free discovery call with me, where we can talk about exactly that. What are your struggles, your challenges, your current situations that you are facing in your STEM career when it comes to communication, and of course, see if we are a good fit to work together. Thanks for watching, and see you in another video next time. Bye-bye.